That's my chair. That's where I sit. It's not for you. Shift your bum off of it. What do you mean, there's not a sign? There's no need for one, young man. It's mine. Don't smirk at me. That's where I go. Don't you pretend that somehow you don't know. Look at my face. Do I look like I care? That it's comfy and you want your bottom on there? Right then, I've had it. That's it. We are done. No more warnings. I'm telling your mum. Right, now you, get out of my chair. And get my hat off your head as well. What do you think you're doing? Get me out of there. What's going on here? It's my hat. Ladies and gentlemen. Do you mind? This is my... honestly. I've never seen anything like it. Have you? I go away for a weekend and all of a sudden I come back and somebody's stolen my chair. I am not impressed, young man. This is our gorilla. We have no idea who this gorilla is. He has arrived in our house. Maybe you can give him some sort of name, because there's no point in making them laugh at home. I'm trying to do a poetry show. I've barely got any room on the chair anymore. We are back, as we should be, with Poems with PJ. Thank you very much, everybody, for getting in contact with the show over the weekend. We were missing on Friday. We were missing in action. Do you know why we were missing in action? It's because I was busy. I was having to talk to loads of people about the show. I had to speak on the radio earlier in the day on the Friday, and then I had to send some stuff to a newspaper as well. It got very busy on Friday afternoon. So, I go away for a little bit and I come back and there's a gorilla in my seat and wearing my hat. I was not impressed. Maybe you could come up with a name for our gorilla friend, and then of course he can sit up here with the rest of our friends, can't he? Well, we are going to be sharing some poems this afternoon. That first one of mine was a brand new one, and it's just called Oi! And I bet you've had people at home as well. I bet you've had people who have sat in your chair as well. Now, this today is going to be a real feast of poetry, because we've got 3 poems from people at home. We've got another one of mine to come about stuff that might appear on your face if you don't shave as a grown-up. And we've also got one from a brilliant poet who's a fairly recent poet and just kind of exploded onto the internet a few years ago. And that poet's name is Brian Bilston. Now, Brian Bilston is an absolutely fantastic poet. And one of the things I love about Brian Bilston is when Brian first started, nobody really knew who Brian was. Kept himself very, very secret. And people thought, well, is this a pretend name or the real poet's name? Somehow we really don't know. And all of his poems were written on either Facebook or Twitter, and he shared them through social media, and they're always really witty and very funny, and they uses lots of puns, so he comes up with lots of names of things and you think, oh, I wonder if he means that or means something else. Well, he's got a poem that he's written which I think is perfect for the lockdown, and it was from his book, and I'll show you the book, and it's called You Took the Last Bus Home. Alright, and it's a fantastic book. Right, and it's got a collection of all the poems that he started writing on the internet. Seriously, I'm going to share the entire show with you. We will find a place for you, but right now we'll go in together. Right, and this poem that Brian wrote is called The Day That Twitter Went Down. Now, I don't know if any of you might have used Twitter. Young people don't use Twitter. It's older people, it's mums and dads at home. You guys would have used Twitter all the time, where you've got your @so-and-so and then you send messages to people. Well, lots of people say that we spend far too much time tweeting people on our phones and not enough time doing things. So Brian imagined what it must be like on a day if Twitter went down. What are all the things he could do? The day that Twitter went down. That day, I got things done. I went for a long run. I played ping pong. I wrote a song. It got to #1. That day, I did a lot. I learned to tie a Windsor knot. I helped the poor. I stopped a war. I read all of Sir Walter Scott. Oh, what a day to seize. I learned some Cantonese. I led a coup. I climbed K2. I cured a tropical disease. That day I met deadlines, got crowned the King of Liechtenstein. I stroked a toucan, I found Lord Lucan. Oh, and then Twitter came back online. That's pretty much what happens. When people have got nothing else that they can spend their time doing, they do all sorts of things. It's like all of us. We're not at work, we're not at school, and you've probably found yourself thinking, I can do this thing or I can do that thing. I bet you somebody's done some jobs around the house that have been waiting to be done for a very long time. That's what poets do sometimes, is they notice things going on around them, and then they go, you know what, I think that would make a nice poem. And I can thoroughly recommend You Took the Last Bus Home, because it's got all sorts of poems in it about that, about things that we wouldn't expect to write about, but actually sometimes we can. Now, things that you guys have been writing about are, some of the things you've been sending me are absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to share a few poems. Now, the first one is for Niall. Hello, Niall. Good afternoon, or it could be Neil. All right, I had a friend called Neil, right, and I had a friend called Niall, and they're both spelt the same way. So I'm going to say both. Hello, Neil, and hello, Niall. You're 10, I know you, and you have written this amazing poem that your mum shared online. And we've asked permission, and we're going to give you a big shout out now, because this is absolutely fantastic. Right. Now, this poem is all about somebody we mentioned on the show last Thursday, and he's up there. I think we can see him in shot, can't we? Yep. This is Captain Tom. We know about his fundraising and about how he did 100 laps of his garden. Well, this is a poem that's been written about that. Our country was in crisis. We were feeling rather blue. Along came Captain Tom, a hero from World War II. His goal to raise £1,000 for the NHS. But what would end up happening, nobody could guess. He walked around his garden every day at dawn. Slow and steady wins the race. All across his lawn. The TV crews arrived and made him a national treasure. This kind and brave captain won our hearts and gave us pleasure. We cheered him from our sofa and clapped our hands with glee as his total reached the millions. A hero for all to see. Happy birthday, Captain Tom. 100 years, you see. Sending many thanks from all my friends and me. I think that is absolutely beautiful, right? And I love the way, and you've not only made that rhyme, but there's something very tricky that poets do as well. You made it scan as well. That's quite clever, that you got the rhythm of the poem all the way through. I found that really easy to read because of the fact that you spent so much time getting the words right and getting the rhythm right. Absolutely fantastic, Noel, and I bet you Captain Tom, if he ever gets to read that, will be as impressed as I am. That was fantastic. Now, it's not just poems about Captain Tom that have been coming our way. We've also been saying a massive thank you to our key workers, because we know on a Thursday night we go outside and we give a massive clap, and I think on Tom's birthday there's also a plan to sing happy birthday to him as well. Now, one of the people, or all of the people that we're saying thank you to, are the people of the NHS. Now, lots of people, we've got our NHS thank you up there. We've had a few poems as well. Now, this one is from Isla. Now, Isla, if you remember, wrote a poem a little while ago about Safer Internet Day, and she got in contact with us and she gave us that poem to read out. But now she started writing poems at home, not just ones that she wrote a few months back. This is one that she's written, and it's a thank you to the NHS. And at the end, I'm going to show you the picture of all of the artwork she's been doing at home. Thank you to the NHS. You really are the very best. So blessed to have you on the front line. You are helping us big time. Taking care of patients old and young, not being able to hug the ones you love, ain't much fun. On our doorsteps clapping for you, every week reminds us of the work you do. Real life heroes you have proven to be. Love you, NHS, very dearly. And when we finally win this war, you'll be in our hearts forever. And there we go, and that's Isla's poem. She's done some rainbows on this picture, but if you look, I was a little bit annoyed. I ran out of colour ink on my printer early on, so I've only been able to do it in black and white, but you can see how much care and attention she's paid. She's done a massive NHS sign and some thank yous and we love you NHS, all sorts of bits and pieces. And I'm going to make sure that that goes up on our wall with all of our big display there and everything else. It really is lovely to see people taking the time and effort to say thank you to our key workers. And sometimes those are people in the NHS, or it might be delivery drivers, or it might be some of your school teachers are still going to school to look after children of key workers as well. Everyone's pitching in together, and we say a massive thank you to everybody out there. Now, one of the other things that we want to say thank you for is your poems, obviously, and some of them, right, it's like sometimes we can even talk to this thing, because it's really weird. We heard these words, didn't we? COVID-19 and Corona. I'd not heard of that like 2 months ago. Never even heard of things like that. And now it's kind of there, but it's invisible. So wouldn't it be nice if you could just kind of sit it down in a chair and say, oi, I want to talk to you? Well, this is exactly what Raphael has done. I'm going to say a fantastic hello to Raphael. Because Raphael, you wrote this poem. Again, I found this one online and it is so good. And it's like you're talking to the disease, which is kind of weird because the disease is like a tiny little thing. But actually, we can talk to it. And this is what Raphael says we'd say. COVID, COVID, you are here. When will you disappear? COVID, COVID, don't touch your face. Wash your hands and make some space. Corona, Corona, if you need to stay, don't get people sick. Just come and play. COVID, COVID, stay at home. Nowhere to go. Just leave us alone. Corona, Corona, why did you come? Were you sad where you lived and wanted some fun? Corona, Corona, COVID, COVID. I love that idea that maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just didn't really know what to do and it's kind of like, wants to come and see us, maybe wants some fun, doesn't know what it's doing. Isn't it amazing how we can give personalities to things that haven't actually got personalities? Raphael, that is showing some absolutely brilliant imagination, right? And you've put that really nicely in that poem. I loved reading that when I saw that the other day. So thank you very much. And thank you again to everybody who's been sending us your poems. We've got one from Amy that's coming tomorrow. And we've got a little bit of space as well. If you've got some poems at home that you've written, please do share them. It's pauljenkinspoet@gmail.com. And of course, we accept poems from all over the world. And I think, if I'm right in thinking, Raphael, you've got some friends and family in Israel. And I'd love to see a wave from people in other countries as well, because we're here in the UK, right? But we are open to everybody in the world. So tag in anybody you like into the show. Please do have a watch party, share it, tell everybody about the show, and we'll try and share as many different poems from across the globe as we can. Now, we usually finish with a new toy, but we haven't got one today because we've already got this imposter. Yes, you look a bit hairy, quite frankly. He looks a little bit hairy. He looks a little bit like me yesterday. I've come up with a new thing that during the week, because we're doing the show, I make sure I have a shave and I take all of the horrible hairy stuff off of my face. But at the weekend, because we're not doing shows at the weekend, I let it grow. So it means every Monday morning I have to shave all the hair off my face. Now once, I didn't shave off the hair off my face for ages, right? And I grew a beard. Can you imagine me with a beard? I think I probably looked kind of weird. All right, beard and weird. I should imagine those things sound quite similar. Now, I wrote a poem all about this because my children's reaction, well, it wasn't what I was expecting. It's just called Beardy Dad. My dad went to Spain for 2 weeks. And when he returned, his chin and his cheeks were covered in fuzz. And when he saw us, he gave us a hug. Not a smooth, snug hug like the ones before, not a squeeze with ease when he came through the door, but a prickly tickle, scratching my face like a big woolly bear had arrived in his place. When I squinted, I saw it was clearly my dad, despite all the fur which was driving me mad. So I gave it a tug to check it was real. And of course, as I did, I was able to feel that in fact this new beard was quite silky and fluffy, as though Dad's new brush wasn't massive or puffy, it was really quite tidy. Not like a bird's nest or the wiggly hairs that he's got on his chest. It was defo my dad, just with 2 weeks of hair. here that wasn't there before, but now will live there evermore. Or until my grandma tells him to shave, which she really will. And this is a picture that my son Thomas drew of Beardy Dad. All right, him coming back. Oh dear, him coming back. Right, and him going, oh my goodness, what have you done? He's covered in a beard. And we've had all sorts of reactions. We've had, dearie me, we've had, oh, the rainbow's fallen over and everything. Oh, it's a good job it's the end of the show, isn't it? I reckon it was you that made that happen. What do you think? He's the strong, silent type. He doesn't say very much. Well, we will see you ready tomorrow at 4 o'clock Tuesday. Please do send us your poems and we will share them all around the world. Say goodbye now. I said to... No. See you later. Bye-bye.